Glad you all are here. Again, this is CovYouth Conversation, all about Unite families and fundraising. And so the idea of this gathering is to just start talking about how we inspire families to jump on board with Unite, happening next July 18th through the 23rd, 2027 in Lincoln, Nebraska. For some of our churches, some of our families, this is a easy ask because they have a history with it. You've been coming for years, maybe decades. And these are things that some of our parents have, as a part of their background. For some of our churches and some of our leaders, this is a first-time experience, and the concept of traveling across the country and spending well over $1,000 per student to attend something that seems pretty foreign, far away, and far in between is a big stretch. And so we don't want it to be. We believe that this is the greatest thing that we do in the covenant. At least that's what I've been told, and I'm looking forward to being part of my first. But it's the biggest thing that we do. I think it's the most influential thing that we do. When we hear stories about life transformation, about people who have a call into ministry, whether it's pastoral or otherwise, most of the time, I don't know most of the time, but it's the prominent identifier that, when I was at Unite, I felt God doing this, or when I was at Chick, this is where I felt called into ministry. And so this is absolutely significant in the lives of so many within the covenant. And it's an opportunity this year to do something all together again. The past few years, cycles, we haven't had the opportunity to be together. 2024, we were Unite East and West. In 2020, what was supposed to be 21, we had to cancel because of COVID or rescheduled, deployed to our conferences. So some of you did it, some of you didn't. But it's been all the way back since 2018 when we were in Knoxville, Tennessee, since we actually were together all as one movement. And I think it's pretty significant because it gives our young people an opportunity to see that they're not part of something small, that this is something big, it's something connected, it's something diverse. There's a beauty to it. There's a real growth within Unite, where we're not just growing individually, we're growing together, we're growing as a movement. And it's a beautiful picture of the kingdom. And so I am super excited to gather everybody back together in one location in Lincoln next summer. Hopefully you've been getting a lot of the communications, the emails, the announcements. But if you haven't, I'm going to just share a little bit about what's going on with Unite. And so I'm going to share a video for those of you who are new to Unite to give you a better idea of this year's, actually, let me do this. This year's event.
You know what it's like to feel the weight of a world that demands you hold it all together, to carry fractures nobody sees. But what if broken was never something to hide? What if every crack was an invitation? Kin, gold, sugi, to mend, to pass on to the next generation. What was shattered, he is restoring. What was scattered, he is gathering. Every line a prayer, every seam sacred. Take heart, I have overcome the world. Belong, be sent, take heart. Unite, July 2027.
Is that this year's theme is take heart. And it comes from John 16:33, which is, Jesus' words, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I've overcome the world. And I think this is a perfect theme for this year and this generation. We all know this from working with young people. This is a generation that's dealing with a lot of mental health issues, anxiety, depression. There's a lot of division within our country, whether it's political or cultural, racial, otherwise. And it's a generation that really wants to rise above those things. And we need to let our young people know that the victory has already been won through Christ on the cross. And this is a perfect theme for a generation who desperately needs to hear that. And the theme, the way that we're playing this out is through kintsugi. And if you don't know what kintsugi is, I'll give you a brief summary of it. It's a Japanese, actually it's an Asian art form where pottery is broken and then mended back together using gold to kind of glue it back together. And so what was broken is actually even stronger after it's been mended than it was at the beginning. And those places of mending become places of beauty and value. And they are the things that make it distinct. And you know, when I think about, you know, in particular, the resurrected body of Christ, the one thing that and this is an old riddle, right? What's the only man-made thing in heaven? And it's the wounds on the body of Christ. But those wounds tell a different story, not a story of wounding, but a story of healing. And very much the same way, kintsugi is an art where those broken pieces, the mending, tell a story of healing, tell a story of strength, tell a very different story, not of brokenness, but of restoration. And I'm really excited for that theme. We've worked with a number of our ethnic communities to talk through the theme and how that will play out, honoring that tradition and those cultures. And so we've got a lot of fun things that are planned around that theme, a lot of meaningful ideas in a variety of spaces, whether it's base camp or the main sessions, or afternoon breakouts and workshops. But that's what you're going to encounter this year at Unite. So I'm going to reiterate one more time. If you have questions, feel free to raise a hand. Feel free to jump in with a question in the link, and any one of our team here will be happy to answer that for you. Again, it's a conversation, so jump on in. But as I said, this is a big deal, and it's a big price tag. And so this meeting is really about how do we cast this vision and help parents really understand how important it is, how meaningful it is, how transformational it is, and how do we help them understand kind of the price tag on it. So Ginny Olson is, she introduced herself earlier, but for those of you who jumped on a little later, Ginny is our director of Next Gen Ministry. Is that right, Ginny?
Yep.
Next Gen Ministry in the Northwest Conference, and been doing this for a while. And so, Ginny, we want to give us some ideas on how do we engage parents, and what are the big questions that they're asking? What are the things that they're going to need from us as youth leaders to get them ready to do this?
Yeah, I think it's important as we're working with parents to see this as a team effort. This is a big ask for a family, and they have a ton of things right now that they're being asked for: soccer camp, band camp, choir camp. And their kid comes home with a new registration form like every day, and they're going, okay, how do we choose? What do we choose? And this one might mean my kid gets a scholarship. So how do we weigh this? And I think that's our role as youth leaders, is to help them understand the context of this event, that it's not just this is another summer event on the list. This is really a strong formative event for them. It is one of those times where they can do the deeper work of who are they, their identity, who are they in Christ. And it's the first time a lot of them even realize they're part of a covenant denomination. And what does that mean to be part of a denomination? That it's not just, it's just my church. It's like there's other churches like this that hold similar values, and they're all around the world, and we're part of this. And this is what, they learn about merge ministries and just all these, all these different ministries that are going on. And it opens up their eyes beyond just their church. And it works really well as well. If you've done mission trips and everything else, it's like, you're helping them build their mental image of what is the kingdom of God look like. And so all that to say is getting parents on board and seeing them as teammates rather than they're just writing a check and signing a registration form will go miles in helping them understand what to do and helping their kid decide to go to this. So one of the key things is I would be hosting a parent meeting right away as soon as you can, as you launch into this fall. So if you haven't done that already, to explain, here's the event, you need to get this on your calendar. And here's why it's important, and check with folks in your church to see if they've gone and if they can speak to the importance of it, and why this is a significant event. But, even setting up the parent meeting, how do you create the atmosphere? And we can talk about this in CovYouth on how do you set up a really good parents meeting. But getting their attention, being there where they can ask you face to face, hearing from other parents too. whose kids may have gone to previous Unites to go, oh yeah, this is why this is significant. I found that with parents, they need to know the why, not just the what. The what's important, but why is this important for my kid? And what Pete just said about anxiety and depression and relationships and, the anxiety about AI and everything else, they've got a ton coming at them, and go, this is a place where they're with peers, they're with adults who love Jesus, and this can help them think through their framework of how they view the world. So those are things, just hosting parent meetings, making sure the whole church knows, thinking about even doing prayer partners with older people in the church. So it's not just parents, but it's also maybe grandparents, older folks who want to support what you're doing in your youth ministry. One of the key things that they're going to first ask about is, how much does this cost? And right now, with just things being tight, just to say, you know what, here's the registration cost. If we get it in before this date, we get the lower price. Here's how much transportation is going to cost. We've got some meals along the way. So lay it all out so there aren't surprises, and then get some parents on board to do some fundraising with you. They're already used to doing this for PTA and Booster Club and everything else, and say, hey, can you help me as we figure out how to do fundraising for this? Maybe get a parent team that actually owns the fundraising part of it, and you work with them so you don't have to be the one shouldering that. So things like that. Talk about, can we do scholarships? Are there some folks in church that maybe they're older, their kids are grown, and they have a little bit of extra income, and maybe do a shoulder tap and say, hey, would you be willing to scholarship some of our kids? Their families are going through a tough time, or they've got 5 kids at home and they just could use some extra help, so that you can kind of work as a whole church. It's like, okay, older person, maybe you don't want to go sleep in a dorm room, but you can help sponsor a kid. So getting the whole church involved in that way. And then just providing a place too, I would say, for, Q&A for them, because they're going to have a ton of questions. And so there's a lot of great stuff on the website. Keep visiting CovYouth, because we'll have answers there. It's a great place to ask and, kind of crowdsource an answer. But things like, okay, what are sleeping arrangements going to be like? They're going to be in luxurious dorms. Yeah, it's a college campus. So, and we'll be real clear about what they need to bring. But there's another question is, what about supervision? And it's like, well, we don't recommend. We require a 1-to-10 ratio adult to student. But there's also other people on campus. So we have human services. So we have counselors and medical people. We've got other adults and other roles. And so your kid is going to be safe as long as they use their brain. So, and if they don't, we will help them still make wise choices. So, but anyway, so that's question, where are they going to sleep? What about supervision? My kid has a special diet. How's that going to be handled? Colleges are great at handling special diets. So we just, that won't be an issue. How is our kid going to get there? And that's again, if you can get a committee of parents to help you think through, is it better if we fly? Is it better if we drive? If we drive, do we need to find a church that we need to stay at on the way? But they can help you think it through. And when you have a kind of a parent team helping you, they can also help you handle the parents that are maybe high maintenance or are brand new to this. And they're like, I don't know if I should send my kid. The parents can advocate on your behalf, on the ministry's behalf. So keep thinking of, how do I build this Unite parent team to help support? So, and one more thing is, as you're working with parents, is to help them help their kid understand you are going to be experiencing all sorts of different cultures at Unite. There are going to be kids there from all over the United States and Canada, but also some will be from other countries. But also other socioeconomic areas, just different cultures. And how do you have an attitude of being open and curious and respectful and honoring? And so helping parents set that expectation with their kids, as well as you as the youth leader. So those are just some of the tips. Jim, Matt, Erik, you guys want to weigh in on what you've learned along the way on working with parents?
Yeah, I've found that it's really helpful to lay out, including with all that, even at the first parent meeting, here's the expectations. And there is a Unite behavior agreement, I think, that will be everybody will have to fill out. And so I even hand that out at that meeting just so that everyone up front is extremely clear. And then there's been certain contexts where I've had my own behavior things I needed to add on to it. And so I've done that and just and explained why and things. So I think that's a really helpful thing. Honestly, at parent meeting, that first one, I try to have every little thing that I can think of handing out if I were to do it throughout the year, and I try to have all of it ready to go at the front at the very beginning. That just helps with clarity, and it helps parents see how much you've thought through, and that also actually shows how much you care about their students and their family wanting to be a part of this. So, yep.
I'll
It's
jump
also
in.
helpful. Go ahead, Jim, Matt.
I'll jump in and say, if you can get your lead pastor there, it goes a long way.
Yeah.
When your lead pastor is the one saying, our whole church sponsors this, and it's not just up to the parents in this room, the whole church is sending the youth there. And if you can get the chairperson of your board there, even better, because your board is the one that makes financial decisions, not your lead pastor. Your lead pastor will initiate certain conversations, but they don't make the decision. And so if your chairperson is there, your treasurer is there, the more board leadership you can have in that room, the more you're going to be supported and funded.
And it's always helpful to have parents that have done this before to give a testimony, to share how they approach it, or to build confidence, give a testimony. So encourage you to invite as many experts and allies as you can.
Yeah.
JL, do you have a question
What's
there?
your question? Oh,
Yes, I have two. One would be a short answer, and the other one might require a longer answer. The ratio 1 to 10, is that gender too, or just adult to student? Like, if you have 5 girls, you need a leader with those 5 girls, and if you have 4 boys, you need a leader with those 4 boys.
Exactly. It is per
Yes.
gender.
Okay.
So up to 10. Now, a lot of our churches, since they are smaller and might have a harder time recruiting, we can partner churches together. Young people from one church can go with another church locally, as long as we can orchestrate transportation. So not every church needs to do that. I know that there's going to be churches that over recruit leaders. They're going to bring 4 or 5 leaders, but they don't have 40 to 50 young people. And we can partner together to make that happen. And part of the way that we do that is through the youth group interest form. So if you go to Unite, our Unite site, I put the link in the chat. If you go to that site, there is a form there to fill out. Let us know who you're bringing and how you're coming, and where you're coming from, some of your needs. And that's one of the tools that we're going to use to put groups together in geographical locations and make sure that all of our bases are covered.
Sure.
I would also
thank
say,
you. I assumed, but I'll.
Yep. I'd also say get more leaders than you think you'll need, because it's a long week, it's an exhausting week, and if you have 10 kids and it's just you need a couple more adults just to share the load.
Yeah, especially if you get sick or you go down or something like that. Yeah, then it can't be leaderless.
Yeah. So my second question, I didn't mention that Marty and I, in our previous context, he was the worship and youth pastor, and my ministry background before coming to where we're at now was also youth ministry with a parachurch ministry. Currently, so we took students to the Nashville Chick. That was our last exposure. And now our youth ministry, we're a smaller church, but our youth ministry is 25% church kids and 75% unchurched, which we love. We love that. But I think my concern a little bit with Unite is and there's been conversation about we're part of a denomination and merge and all of those things. And that's going to fall on deaf ears with our unchurched kids. So I guess when I think about some of the families, I'm trying to put this conversation and bring it into our context, and I'm struggling a little bit with that, because some of the things that would be beneficial for a church with maybe more youth group families. A lot of our youth group students are not families in our church. And so, I'm thinking about casting vision, and a lot of them do go to camp, and we have really good success with getting students involved in the youth ministry to go to camp. But when I think about, promoting denominational things, what is really about Chick, and those of you who are planning it know better, what is going to appeal to the unchurched kids?
Let me just clarify
and
that
family.
It's not a huge denominationally promotion. It's not like Gather or anything like that. So it's subtle, but it's those kids who have ears going, oh, this is connected here. So I'll turn it over to Pete and let him explain a little bit more. But I just want to clarify that it's not like we lead with denomination and then Jesus is back here. It's like, no, Jesus is up front.
Mm-hmm.
Denomination is there for those who have it on their radar.
Right.
Yeah,
and I'll
clarify
really that I love the covenant and I love our denomination. But that's
we don't
good
use
question. The word in youth group. So,
really
some of the things that I think it's important to point to is that young people today are looking for a place to belong, and this lets them know that they're not just part of something small; they're part of something much bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And the wonderful thing about the covenant is we don't require everybody to look just like us. It's a space where they're going to find not just others that will love them and embrace them, but plenty of space to work out their faith, to discover the world. This is a generation that wants to make a difference in the world. And so our base camps are really about that. It's about understanding our mission priorities: love, mercy, do justice, serve globally, and how we make a difference in the world, whether it's through water or immigration experience, racial righteousness. There's opportunities to engage in some really meaningful things and to learn about some fantastic ways to engage the world. Leadership development. Our Serve Clergy is putting on a fantastic base camp all about leadership development. What does it mean to lead? What does it mean to discover how God made you to engage with the world? So whether somebody is, really committed to the church or still kind of exploring faith in general, it's going to be a space where they're going to have real practical opportunities to grow as individuals, as leaders, as people just seeking truth. So those are the things that I would probably lead with: is these experiences, bigger than them, place to belong, opportunity to develop leadership and engage the world in meaningful ways. And I think along the way they're gonna meet Jesus for sure. You know what? I'm going to do this in light of that question, and some of Ginny's. Yeah, I'm gonna throw a letter in the chat. That's a link to it should be just uploaded, a parent letter. So this is what we've put together as a shell. Most of the resources that I'm going to be pushing out through the Covenant denominational office, as well as through CovYouth.com, are going to be Word files or Google Docs, so that you can edit them. We're going to put out very few PDFs that are uneditable. I'm going to push out as much as I can in Word format so that you can edit it, make it your own. We're going to have graphics packages coming out in the near future, so you'll be able to start doing some social media stuff. Erik is going to talk about that in a little bit. How do we keep Unite kind of front and center in our spaces? But I wanted you to be able to check out that letter, download that, and hopefully that'll help you frame some of the conversation for your parents. Erik, maybe that's a good opportunity to jump in with you and let you talk a little bit about marketing and about promotion and how we keep this in front of parents.
Sounds good. I'll try to be quick as well, because I want to make sure we have time to talk about fundraising. And I just add with parents to maybe consider taking like the basketball team approach and recruit parents into a team of support, a support team for Unite. And so instead of just looking at them as people to keep informed, recruit them into a support team to help you put together your fundraisers and um, plan even your transportation for you. These parents can actually get involved and make the trip easier for you, as opposed to being another point of work that you have to do. So maybe think about how maybe you can encourage your parents to actually get involved, become part of the team to make it happen. As you think about marketing the event, I really encourage you to you think about how big this event is, to get it in front of your folks as much as quick as possible. I put together just a quick and dirty little like potential how do you say this, like schedule that you could use to use as a guide to I think this is it. There it is. I just put it in the chat. They kind of look like maybe like once a month be promoting Unite to your students, to your parents, and to your families, in order to keep it in front of them as you head towards this summer. And you can see there's lots of different ways to be talking about Unite. There's, of course, information that you want to out there, the details for the event. There's going to be fundraising because we're going to talk about that in a moment. You'll probably be looking at a minimum of 4 fundraisers, but maybe more. And so you're going to be looking at those opportunities, as well as the registration deadlines. There's 3. There's an early, a regular, and a late registration deadline that you're going to be. So keeping those in front of people. There's lots of opportunities to be getting information out in front of folks. So look at those opportunities that are there. There is going to be, you want to do that maybe through email, social media, your church bulletin. Think about how you can put it up on your posters and bulletin boards, that kind of stuff in your youth room. Get it out there as much as you can. And here's something I'd like to recommend as well. Information is great, but stories are even more powerful. So when you are getting these beats out there, you're looking at ways to kind of get Unite out in front of folks. Look at ways to tell a story. Look at of the event. Maybe to find people that have been to Unite and have them share their story. As you have students commit to coming, have them share their story about what they're excited about to go, as a way to get other people excited to go. So don't just say, here details, here's a dollar sign, but attach it to people and attach it to stories, especially stories of life change. And if you can get people up in front of your church to tell those stories, that's the more the better. And especially when you come to fundraising, when you're be talking about dollars, try to keep it as vision as possible. So you're not just trying to get money out of people, but instead you're investing into people's lives. This is going to be life changing, and use the marketing materials that are out there, the videos that she tried to show earlier. Download them and get it ready on your computer so they're ready to go, and use those things because they're inspirational and they'll help people to be able to connect. So those things are available at covchurch.org as well as covyouth.com. That I'm going to paste those into the chat as well. And you can get those anytime, every time you can. And then, kind of like I mentioned with parents, I encourage you to get your congregation involved as well, to move beyond this just being a youth ministry event, but make this an event for your entire church. Although just your students are going to be going and some adults, but think about how is something your whole church can be participating in. How can your senior adults be participating in this event as well, by prayer, by supporting in different ways, and maybe even encourage students that are going to the events to visit those meetings in your churches to tell their stories and get connected with what's going on. And when you go to the events, like one of my last final points there was to have students and leaders be sharing the event as they go along, sending pictures back to their congregations so people they feel like they're along on the trip with them. And especially after you get back, to get people up in front of your congregation to share about how the story went, so people are are feeling like this was something our entire congregation did. Although our students went along, it was something our entire congregation participated in. So help this to be something that is Unite is part of your whole church participating in, not just a handful of students.
Good word. Thanks, Erik. Yeah, so as we're thinking about Unite, inviting our churches into this event, we're thinking three things: pray, give, and serve. And so we're hoping that, like Erik said, everybody has an opportunity to jump in some way. One of the resources that we're going to be pushing out is a Pray For Me campaign, which helps kind of link prayer to relational discipleship to fundraising. And that's going to come out sometime in August, September, as a resource that you can leverage, hopefully, sometime in the new year. So more on that to come, but we are going to be working pretty diligently to continue to push out resources that are really practical, really helpful, very user-friendly, really early on in the process, so that you have the opportunity to use them when it's most helpful for you. And that even includes our Unite curriculum. So I think Ginny mentioned this, that it's tough to get a diverse group of young people together in one space without stepping on each other's toes. So this curriculum is something we're asking every church, every participant to go through together, so that they're ready for this beautiful, diverse foretaste of heaven. And we're going to be pushing that out beginning in August. The full curriculum will be ready September 1. So you have an entire school year to plan, to prepare, and to put in a place that's most effective for you and your ministry. I want to use the rest of our time to talk about fundraising, because that's a big deal to all of us. Jim Eaton is kind of our resident expert. We've asked him to put together some stuff. He's put together some great resources. So I'm going to turn it over to Jim and have you lead us through some fundraising conversation. And hopefully we'll have some chance to ask some questions on the back end, and we'll wrap up with a couple of next steps.
Yeah, right on. Thanks, Pete. Hey, Erik, real quick, your what you posted in the chat didn't come through to everybody. So you might want to repost those links real quick.
Oh yeah, I sent just to Pete. Sorry.
I was looking at that going,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing that.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep. So yeah, thanks. This is exciting. I'm pumped for Unite and for getting as many people there as possible and helping you all get your groups there. A lot of what I'm going to share today, I actually learned from one of the churches I worked at. So when Erik was talking about putting a parent team together, that's huge. And that's actually a parent developed a lot of what I'm going to share today with you guys. And I had done fundraising for Unite before in other churches, and it went okay. But then I landed in this church and it went really, really well. And so I just wanted to share some best practices with you, some things that we learned. The number one thing that I took away was doing that kickoff night that we just talked about, like having like an information meeting for parents, but doing it at the very beginning of the school year. In fact, we did it the week before our fall kickoff. And what that did was it actually helped us, a side benefit was it helped us generate momentum for our fall kickoff. And so throughout the summer, we were promoting the parent night. We were showing the theme video and putting up posters around, things like that with the logos to get people familiar with the kickoff night. But then we also were able to kind of tie together with that, promoting our fall kickoff. So that may not work for everyone's context, but it did really work really well for us. And so it helped launch into that. And this gave our students a chance to ask their friends who they wanted to invite to Unite that maybe weren't part of the youth group yet or going to church yet. And then they can invite their parents and make sure that everybody was there. And so for us, this was not just a kickoff night for students for Unite, but it was for parents. And any volunteers that I had already was able to recruit to go to Unite, they were there as well so that we could introduce them. So it was really trying to create that synergy and that energy around that. And to Matt's point of having your lead pastor there, thankfully that naturally happened because his own kids were going in that context. So he was there as well, and it did make a big difference. He was able to speak to some things in some good ways. So anyway, so I really want to encourage you to have that fall kickoff, that also launches your fundraising information. At that parent meeting, we would do a sign up sheet. So everyone had a commitment that they had to sign at what level of fundraising they wanted to do. And so they would sign and either say, we need to fundraise as much as we can. So they would check that box. Another box was, we are going to pay X amount towards the registration and we're going to fundraise the rest. Or we are going to be able to just pay for the event, and here's our deposit. But we understand there, and we always had one fundraiser. Every student had to participate in at least one fundraiser, and that was a huge part of that was for community because we didn't want a kid to be able to just write a check and get on the bus and not be having engaged in the community of the youth group. And for us in that context, we did a late spring massive banquet with a auction, and I mean it was a humongous event, and it literally was all hands on deck to be able to pull it off. And so that was the event that we required everyone to participate with. And so having this meeting early in the process and having that fundraiser later meant people could mark their calendars and prioritize that. And if there were always one or two or three kids that for whatever reason couldn't make it, or maybe something came up like a funeral in the family or something, there's always, with things that are that big, there are things ahead of time that you could work on. They could come in and do a mailing, or they could organize supplies, or they could go on a shopping trip, or whatever the case might be to help with that. So they were all able to engage in some way, shape, or form. So anyway, that sign up night is huge. And we would have them sign a fundraising commitment. That way we knew at what level they needed to engage. So we knew where to prioritize some invitations to kids. Like, hey, this fundraiser's coming up. Have you signed up yet? The kids that really need to fundraise the whole thing, we could start there in terms of filling out, students to serve in those different areas. Anyway, so I would highly recommend including fundraising in your kickoff night. Now, I want to say this. To have your entire year of fundraising planned by that night which is pre-fall kickoff, is a lot of work over the summer, but it's totally worth it because as you then go throughout the school year, you're not figuring out every fundraiser on top of your curriculum, your youth group, your planning everything else. You're just simply working the system that you've created. And so it's a lot of work up front in the summer, like I said, but it totally helps you manage things and have more capacity throughout the school year. One of the things that I found really helpful was as I plan out our fundraisers, and then I would recruit a parent to lead each fundraiser. I would not recruit the same parent to run all the fundraisers. No, but I would recruit a different parent for each fundraiser. And that's kind of gets back to Erik's point of a team. You could create a team and they each kind of assign, each different parent on that team is going to be the head of a different fundraiser. So that's an interest or a good thing to think about. It honestly takes it off of you, because you have so many other things to be doing to get the group ready to go. And so if you can hand off fundraising to different people, then your role becomes, what do you need and how can I help? So you're going to Walmart or giving them the tax exempt form so they can go to Walmart or whatever the case may be. But then your job is to resource and support them instead of trying to think through and manage everything on your own. So that's a really, really helpful way to look at it. Let's see. A couple of best practices that I've found helpful. One is that team thing, but one is also thinking about the rhythm of fundraising. So how often can your group handle a fundraiser? Like, do you have a bunch of kids going? If you have 50 kids going, you could do a fundraiser a month and be okay because you would have enough students to staff that. If you have, like my church right now is super small, we'll be lucky to have 10 kids go between 3 youth groups. We don't have the capacity to run a fundraiser every month. We might be able to do it probably every other month. And so That's kind of what we're going to be looking at. Um, so you have to think about capacity, but also focus. So there are, I call them inward fundraisers and outward fundraisers. Sorry, I'm in my daughter's office at camp and the phone is ringing, and I am going to turn that off. There we go. Sorry. Um, so anyway, so for example, an inward fundraiser would be like a chili feed after church on a Sunday. Everybody's going to come out of the sanctuary and they're going to come on over to the fellowship hall and they're going to have chili and cinnamon rolls, which is a Kansas thing. I know it's weird, but it is what it is. Yeah, it's better than it sounds. In growing up in Minnesota, it was chili and corn dog or like cornbread, right? Yeah. So anyway, so whatever it is, right? But people are already gonna be there, so it's for your church. Something outward focused might be like a car wash that you're going to either do in your church parking lot, or maybe you know somebody has a car wash that would let you use it. But that's out to the community, or like a lemonade stand at Walmart. That's an outward one. And so what I found is to be helpful is alternating those. So whether your rhythm is biweekly or monthly or every other month, but do one that's focused with your church and one that's focused out in the community. What that does is that helps prevent donor fatigue. Because what can happen is we're constantly up front of the church saying, hey, we need money for Unite. Hey, we need money for Unite. Hey, we need money for Unite. And then they're also saying, hey, we need money for Covenant Benevolence. Hey, we need money for Covenant World Mission. Hey, we need money for, does that make sense? All these different things. And so when you alternate, you actually are creating space. And theoretically, by the time it's your turn to do this again, then you are like up in front of the church and they're like, oh yeah, Unite. Wow, I gave to that last thing. Now I'm excited to give to the next thing, especially if you're able to give an update on like your progress, like, and thank people for, hey, thanks so much for helping out with the chili and cornbread. We had a great response. We raised $1,000. We're super excited about this next thing that we're going to do. Whatever that is, fill in the blank. And here's our goal for that. That helps people stay engaged. So alternating can be really helpful. Another way of thinking about that is, what are things that your people are already going to spend money on, and how can you simply capture those funds? So for example, people are going to go out to lunch after church. So having a meal after church is a great way to capture people's money that they're going to go spend at McDonald's. Instead, they're giving it to you. So you're actually like, when it comes to a family's budget, you're not going to them and saying, hey, can you donate over and above your normal expenses with this? You're simply capturing funds that they would already spend out of their budget, which honestly helps people engage because it keeps it within their budget. You're honoring them and giving them an opportunity to participate without asking them to stretch things. And in our economy right now, that's a big deal. So that can be helpful. Also, related to that is ROI. So your ROI, or return on investment, is something you need to think through. You can do a chili feed for way less cost to you, and than like McDonald's cost for their food that they're going to sell. And you can actually then charge less and still have a bigger margin than McDonald's does. And so thinking through your return on investment. So one time, I have a fail story here. One time I spent $1,000 on flamingos, like those pink lawn flamingos, and then we put together all of this. It took hours and hours and hours of organization and work to put this thing together, where the students would go like put a flock in somebody's yard. So people would wake up and there'd be 30 pink flamingos in their yard. And then the students had to come and remove them by a certain time and take them to the next yard. And it was fun and it built community in our group, but the amount of administrative work was completely not worth the return we got on the $1,000 of flamingos. And so like I would not do that one again in my context, because it was just so much work. But one that is phenomenal, which actually I think we're going to link for you afterwards in the description once we post the live, is you get the mini tubes of M&Ms, and you put a little label on it, wrap it, hand them out so they get the M&Ms, but then you ask them to return that tube the next week full of coins of change, and they're the perfect size for a quarter. You can fit like $25 of quarters in one of those tubes. And what's great about that is that the tube costs like $1.25 or $1.50, but you're getting like $20 or more back. That's awesome return on investment. And all you need to do is print a little label, which we're going to provide for you to use, and you can edit for your church. And then you need like 3 students to come in one afternoon and just like tape them onto the tubes of M&Ms. And that's it. And then you hand them out and then you collect them the next week. Super easy. You can also invite people to just write checks to put in there, or cash can go in there. So they don't even have to do coins. Honestly, I've gotten people that have written $1,000 checks in those tubes,
Got a
So
lot of Benjamins in a M&M tube.
exactly. You can write a lot of zeros on a check that'll fit in that tube. Yeah, exactly. So I kind of make that joke on a Sunday, when I'm doing the announcement, and haha, and then people do that. So what's cool about this is it's an intergenerational fundraiser, because little kids will come up and be like, "Can I have that M&M tube?" And they're like a 5-year-old. You're like, "Yes, absolutely." Your parents are gonna hate me because I just gave you sugar. But then sometimes you're not gonna get them all back. There's some loss there, but sometimes then those kids come back the next week and they have literally dug through their couch or their piggy bank, and they're like 5 years old and they're super excited to help the older kids, right? It's so much fun to see like the younger kids helping the older kids, and then obviously the adults are engaging in that. So that's a phenomenal intergenerational opportunity as well. So I have some more best practices, but I'm just curious, Pete, Ginny, Matt, Erik, have you guys had any successful fundraisers capturing money that people would already spend, but instead they gave it to you instead of giving it to somewhere else?
I'll have one to share.
Sure.
We did a fun fundraiser where our youth group provided babysitting, like right around early December, late November, for parents, so they can go Christmas shopping for their kids without having to drag their kids with them. So mom and dad got a chance to shop together, and they were going to get a babysitter anyway, and by providing a couple nights where we did the babysitting, the kids had a blast, and we just took donations and let them know that all the money that we raised was going to go to help support summer camp. So seasonal, great opportunity. It taught our kids leadership. It gave our parents a night away. They loved it. It became a bit of a tradition too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Right on. Any others you want to shout out?
Marcus, I appreciate your question in the chat there. What's been some other successful outward-facing fundraisers? If you market that right, you could use that as an outward facer as well. But maybe we could think through both of those questions simultaneously.
Yeah.
Another one is to get people to sponsor students and do work projects in the community for free. So, contact your community, your local school, and say, what projects do you need help with? And then students go out and go, okay, I'm going to be serving for 8 hours today. How much, would you give me per hour? So that kind of outward facing, but inward as well.
I have 2 quick thoughts. One really depends on the size of your congregation. All the churches that I served as a youth pastor, we said to the church, you may only support the kid that we give you. And so we would take the roster of students and the roster of everyone who was a member of the church, and we would intentionally pair them up. So if we knew a kid couldn't raise any money and had no money, we would give them the wealthiest families. And they had to write a letter saying why they wanted to go. They were very excited to go. They sent it to the family. And then for multiple weeks, the lead pastor would say, everyone in this church has received a letter from a young person. Please respond to it. And if you didn't, then please come to me and we'll give you one. And we would have people send so much money to kids because they just wanted to bless them and help them get there. And so I think it raised more money than simply asking the church to put an extra offering in or collect on the way out because it was personal. And then that student had to write a letter of their experience at the end and send it back to that family. And so there was always the expectation that you're going to tell us how this went. You can tell us what God did. You're going to say thank you. And the thank you always happened. And then on our recap night, the recap night was for the whole church, not just the youth group. And so the entire church would come out and see it. The other one that was very successful, and this again depends on your rhythms. If you have a missions trip before Unite, whether it's spring break, whether it's this summer, it's too late, whether you raise money for anything, you just add another paragraph to your fundraising letter. Anything I raise beyond what I need goes to send me to this week of Unite. And we would have kids raise way more than they needed because, again, parents were like, yeah, we want you to do that trip and the other one. So both of those were successful for us.
Those are great ideas. Thanks, Matt. Yeah.
One other outward facing that I've been part of in the past, I didn't organize it, but our local Young Life crew does, they spread mulch. They've got a local landscaper who sells mulch and delivers it. And for a little bit of extra, you can get a youth crew to show up and spread it for you. And so for 5-6 weeks in a row, all of our Young Life crew gathers on a Saturday morning and spreads mulch at 4 or 5 houses, and they spend the entire morning doing it, and then they all split the fundraising. So that's been super successful with the community. People are going to buy mulch anyway. They might not want to spread it, and it helps your local landscaper sell it too, to know that it's going to get spread. You don't have to worry about that. So it was a win-win-win across the board. You can do that with firewood too if you live in the north.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Who wants to stack their own firewood?
In one community that I served in, an outward-facing one, to get to Mark's question, is there was someone in our community that had a car wash, and they wanted a tax write-off, and so it was one of those like wash it yourself bays, but they just gave us one of the bays to use for 4 hours or something like that. They turned it on so we didn't have to keep popping coins. And then we were at the street with signs, and we were able to just wash as many cars as we could crank through and take whatever donations, free will donations people gave us. We had a suggested donation of like $10 or something, but then people could just donate whatever. And we made a great amount of money doing that. So if there's someone in your community that has a car wash that they would let you use like that, that'd be an amazing opportunity. So that's been a really good one as well. So, guys, we're going to actually have some more brainstorming opportunities going forward from this call. So we're going to move on in the notes here, but those are some good things to get you started. And actually one thing that I'm going to do right now is drop in the chat a link to a document that you can take, and so that you're not recreating the wheel. It's a sample rhythm of fundraisers, inward, outward. This one actually focuses a little less inward, outward alternating and more based on seasonal things that capture money our people would have already spent on other things. But you can use it and take it, download it, modify it however you want. So one of the other best practices that I want to lay out there for you is to pay attention to the fundraising rhythm of your school districts, because you don't want to compete with them. They often are selling popcorn or discount cards or whatever the case may be, especially sports teams. Don't do the same thing. I tried that one year and miserably failed. It was horrible. And so just if you can ask your students, hey, are your teams fundraising or whatever, and try not to do the same things if you can help it. So don't compete with that. And you also don't want to get a reputation of like competing with the school districts. It just doesn't go great. So, we already mentioned storytelling and gratitude. So, but I'll just note that, but make sure you're sending thank you notes. And then also you need to keep the IRS happy. This is a quick note to say that if people are donating online or with a check, they cannot write a specific person's name on it, because then if they want a tax deduction, if they don't want a tax deduction, then they can write a person's name on it. But if they want that tax deduction, it has to go to the event, not to a person. So just want to clarify that. So you keep the IRS happy, you keep your financial person at your church happy. If you were to get audited, that could be an issue if it's not done correctly. So I think that is the best practices list that I've got for you today. Yeah, we're gonna have some ongoing conversations, like I said, and so we can jump into those things and do some brainstorming further down the road. And Pete's gonna say more about that in a bit, unless you want me to just say that right now, Pete.
No, I'll wrap that up.
All right.
Thanks, Jim. Good stuff. We are past our hour mark, which we like to try to do this within an hour. So thanks for those of you who have stuck with us. I threw a couple things in the chat here. Next steps would be, one, join CovYouth.com. It's also called CovEquip.com now, because it includes our next gen ministries. But click that link there. You can sign up, sign in, turn on your notifications. There's going to be a lot of information coming through CovYouth.com. Also, explore the Unite site at the covchurch.org site. Everything you need to know is in there. Parent FAQs. There will be registration there. It'll all be online. Videos, graphics, a day in the life at Unite. Just explore that. Tons of stuff. And lastly, sign up for our monthly newsletter. We have a monthly newsletter that comes out from the offices here, the denominational offices. And that'll be fresh with links and new things from both the Unite lead team as well as youth and young adult ministry. So 3 things to click on, sign up for. I'm happy to fill your email inbox and your notifications because we've got great things going on. But as Jim said, we do have more Unite conversations coming up in the next few months. We are happy to have conversations with you, your church. Jump in as conference coordinators, or for myself, feel free. I'd be happy to come and chat. Jump into a Zoom call or whatever with your people. But we're going to have more and more conversations as it unfolds. Feel free to reach out to me or to any one of us, conference coaches, coordinators, and we will happily answer your questions and partner with you to make sure that this is a great experience for your church and your kids. I'm going to wrap it up. And if anyone wants to stick around for questions, we can definitely do that. But thank you so much for joining us. Glad that you're here, and we'll see you all soon.